Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Gaia Sanctorum. This is Living the Wheel, where we follow the cycles of the cosmos and the wisdom of the five bodies to navigate our human experience with ancient knowledge and an embodied practice. Last week, Neptune made its historic ingress into Aries after 14 years of dissolving in the boundless waters of Pisces. The planet of spirituality and mysticism and divine connection crossed into the sign of the warrior, the pioneer, the one who takes action. This is massive. Neptune in Aries says spirituality is no longer about transcendence. It's about embodiment. Your spiritual gifts must now become action in the world. Your connection to the divine must manifest through your body, through your voice, your willingness to be a spiritual warrior. But here's what's beautiful and necessary. Before we can fully step into that fire, the cosmos is giving us one last moment of water. Last week, we rode into that powerful full moon in Leo. Your heart was center stage, demanding you see and you honor your creative fire and your authentic self-expression, your right to shine without apology. Leo's roar invited sovereignty. And now that luminous peak passes and we enter the waning moon phase. It's nature's exhale, the time for release and composting. Mercury and Venus are pulling us back into Pisces energy one final time. On February 6th, Mercury enters Pisces. On February 10th, Venus joins Mercury. And as both planets move through those mystical Piscean waters, they'll square Uranus, Mercury on the 5th, and then Venus on the 8th, creating breakthrough tension. And then they will also sextile Chiron, which Mercury sextiles Chiron on the 3rd, Venus on the 4th. So this is going to offer us wounded healer medicine. This week is liminal space, sacred threshold, the last tender moment before the fire fully ignites. With everything happening globally right now, all the chaos, all the grief, all the collective overwhelm we're witnessing as systems crack and transform. We need this moment. We need to feel everything, release everything, soften completely before Neptune and Aries demands that we become spiritual warriors. Because here's what I want you to understand. The tenderness you're cultivating this week, you're going to need it for what's coming. The softening, the grief work, the emotional integration, this isn't weakness. This is preparation. You cannot be a spiritual warrior if you haven't first learned to feel everything and stay whole. You can't take embodied action if you haven't integrated what needs releasing. You can't move forward with clarity if you haven't first surrendered to the disillusion. This week asks, can you feel everything without falling apart? Can you stay open-hearted in brutal times without completely shattering? Can you be both tender and whole? That's the medicine. That is the gift. And that's what makes this week so sacred. This is your last chance to be water before you have to become fire. So use it wisely. Now, before we dive into this week's specific transits, we need to understand the context we're operating within. Last week, Neptune entered Aries for the first time in 165 years. And this is not hyperbole. This is one of the most significant astrological shifts of our lifetime. For the past 14 years, Neptune's been in Pisces, its home sign, where it feels most comfortable. During that time, spirituality has been about disillusion, transcendence, merging with the divine, letting go of ego and separateness. It's been beautiful and necessary, and it's over. Neptune in Aries says your spiritual connection must now manifest through action, through embody, through being a warrior for what's sacred. You can't just meditate on compassion, you must embody it in the world. You cannot just pray for change. You must be the change with your body, with your voice, with your willingness to show up. This is spirituality with a backbone. Divine feminine meeting sacred masculine. Compassion that doesn't bypass, it acts. And here's what's crucial. We're in the first weeks of this 13-year cycle. Neptune will be in Aries until 2039. What we do now, how we integrate, what we learn, how we prepare, sets the foundation for more than a decade of embodied spiritual evolution. But before we can fully step into warrior frequency, the cosmos is giving us this week of Pisces medicine. One last moment to soften, to feel, to release, to integrate, because you cannot be an effective spiritual warrior if you're numb, defended, or carrying unprocessed grief. This week isn't a retreat from Neptune in Aries, it's preparation for it. Let's start with Uranus. This planet governs sudden changes, the nervous system activations, those lightning bolt breakthrough moments that change everything in an instant. When Uranus has been in retrograde, we've been doing internal revolution, processing changes, questioning structures, examining what needs to shift in our lives, in our bodies, in our relationships with the material world. Now that Uranus is stationing direct and all those innovations and insights have been processing internally, we can finally move them into tangible form. This is the moment of implementation. And Uranus is in Taurus, the sign of the physical body, resources, Earth's wisdom, and embodiment itself. This direct station is inviting us to revolutionize our relationship with being in a body, with having physical needs, with existing in material form. The opportunity here is profound. Implement the changes that your body has been whispering about during the retrograde. Maybe you have discovered a new approach to chronic tension or a dietary shift that's been calling, a practice that actually calms your nervous system. Maybe you've realized you need to completely restructure how you work, rest, eat, and move. Uranus Direct says, now we act. The time for internal processing is complete. Now we bring revolution into physical form. 2 days later, Mercury, the ruler of the nervous system, communication, and thought itself, enters the boundless ocean of Pisces. In Pisces, Mercury softens its edges. Logic yields to intuition. Linear thought gives way to symbolic knowing, to dreams, to the language of poetry and metaphor. This transit opens the door to nonverbal communication, dreams that teach, body whispers that guide, plant spirits that speak, ancestors who offer wisdom through feeling rather than through words. It's an invitation to trust what you know without knowing how you know it, to honor the intelligence of your body and your heart and your gut to receive information through channels that your rational mind cannot explain or control. Our grandmothers understood this. They didn't need peer-reviewed studies to tell them what plants were safe. They didn't need scientific proof to know when to harvest by the moon. They listened, they felt, they just knew. Mercury in Pisces asks you to reclaim that way of knowing. Now, 4 days after Mercury, Venus, the goddess of harmony and beauty and heart-centered love, will be joining Mercury in Pisces. Venus rules the emotional heart, the kidneys, which in Chinese medicine associates with fear and willpower, and our capacity to both receive and give love. In Pisces, Venus dissolves the boundaries between self and other. She teaches us about compassion and love that doesn't keep score, that doesn't calculate worthiness, that doesn't protect itself behind walls. This is radical. In a world that teaches us to guard our hearts, to protect ourselves, to never be too vulnerable, Venus in Pisces says, open anyway. This is the opportunity to practice radical self-compassion, to forgive yourself for being beautifully, imperfectly, and messily human. Let your heart open, even when it's been hurt before, even when it feels dangerous, even when you have every reason to stay closed. Now, here's where it gets intense. Both Mercury and Venus will square Uranus this week. Mercury on the 5th, Venus on the 8th. Now, squares create productive tension. They're the friction that creates diamonds, the pressure that transforms coal into something precious. These squares create tension between Pisces, boundless flow, and Uranus's electric awakening, between dissolving and shocking, between surrendering and breaking free. Expect sudden insights about patterns you've been swimming in, unexpected realization about ways you've been fooling yourself, avoiding the truth, or staying in the fog because clarity felt too dangerous. Expect unexpected heart openings that shock you with their intensity, sudden emotional breakthroughs, old wounds surfacing that finally can be healed. Your heart is going to crack open in ways that you didn't plan and you can't control. This is uncomfortable. Squares demand action. They will not let you stay comfortable in old patterns. But here's the gift. Breakthroughs happen when we're willing to be uncomfortable, when we let the lightning strike our waters, when we allow sudden clarity to illuminate what we've been avoiding in the depths. Let it come. Let the truth surface. Let your heart break open if it needs to. And here's the beautiful part. Before these challenging squares, we're going to get a little support. Both planets form supportive sextiles to Chiron, the wounded healer, Mercury on the 3rd, Venus on the 4th. Chiron represents the wound that becomes our medicine, the suffering that teaches us how to heal others, the pain that when we're willing to face it and work with it, transforms our greatest gift. These sextiles create opportunities to communicate about our wounds without shame, without performing strength that we don't feel, to speak our truth about what hurts, and to extend compassion toward our pain instead of trying to fix it or bypass it or pretend it doesn't exist. Your vulnerability is not weakness. It's the crack where light gets in. It's the tender place that connects you to every other human who has ever suffered and survived. The invitation this week is that your wounds don't need to be healed before you can be whole. Your brokenness doesn't disqualify you from love. Your pain is a part of your medicine, not something that's standing in the way of it. All of this happens during the waning moon phase, the 2 weeks between the full moon and the new moon, when nature teaches us to release, to let go, to compost what's complete so nutrients can feed what's coming. But these aren't ordinary releases. This is Uranus activated, Pisces softened, Chiron medicine infused letting go. You're not just releasing habits or patterns. You're releasing an entire way of being that has kept you safe, but also kept you small. Entire identities built on who you thought you had to be instead of who you actually are. The waning moon says that not all work is building. Sometimes the most sacred work is letting go, composting what was, making space for what's coming. So let's talk about this in terms of the 5 bodies. Your physical body is the foundation of everything. You can have all the spiritual insights in the world, but if your nervous system is fried and your adrenals are depleted, you can't hold those insights in form. This week's transits emphasize the nervous system and fluid balance. We need to soothe while maintaining clarity, ground the electric Uranian energy while honoring Pisces' need to flow. The first part of the week, before the squares hit, your body needs integration more than activation. And I know to date, I have recommended groups of foods that will help, but I wanted to recommend actual combinations of foods so you could understand how these traditional foods work in ways that you actually want to eat. And if you guys want me to make recipes available, just let me know in the comments and I can absolutely do that. So let's start with caraway roasted root vegetables. Now, caraway is a mercury ruled aromatic that supports nervous digestion and helps us ground into our bodies. Here's why this matters. Mercury herbs help the nervous system communicate with the gut. And Lord knows we need that gut brain connection strong right now. Your enteric nervous system, the second brain in your gut, contains more neurotransmitters than your actual brain. When you support nervous digestion with herbs like caraway, you're literally helping your body process not just food, but also experience. Roast carrots, parsnips, and beets with caraway seed and olive oil and sea salt. The earth element of the root vegetables anchors Uranus's electric energy into a stable form. These literally grow down into the earth. They teach your energy to root, to ground, to stop spinning in your head and land in your body. Next would be wild-caught fatty fish with fennel. Now, the omega-3s feed your brain and nervous system because your brain is 60% fat and it needs these essential fatty acids to build cell membranes and transmit signals between the neurons and regulate your mood. After these intense transit, your nervous system is depleted and omega-3s rebuild that foundation. Now, fennel aids in digestion and clears mental fog. But it has this particular gift for helping us digest both food and experience. Fennel says you can take this in. You can process this. You won't be overwhelmed. Try some fresh salmon with shaved fennel, orange, and olive oil. The sweetness balances Pisces' dreamy quality with Mercury's need for clarity. Next, a seaweed and cucumber salad. Pisces governs the ocean realms, and seaweed brings mineral-rich nourishment to depleted nervous systems. Your nervous system runs on minerals: magnesium, calcium, potassium, and a bunch of other trace minerals. When you're under stress, and with these transits, you basically are, your mineral reserves get depleted. Seaweed is the most mineral dense food available. It literally feeds your nervous system what it needs to function. Cucumber is cooling and hydrating, ruled by the moon. Watery vegetables support the fluid systems of the body: lymph, blood, cerebral spinal fluid. Perfect for Venus and Pisces' need for flow. You could dress this salad with some rice vinegar and sesame oil and a touch of ginger to keep the digestive fire alive, even while you're working on cooling and flowing with Pisces energy. Now for some herbs. I want to talk about gotu kola. This is a Mercury-ruled herb. It sharpens mental clarity while calming nervous tension, and that is rare. Most herbs either stimulate or calm, but gotu kola does both. In Ayurveda, it's called Brahmi, that which gives knowledge of Brahman, of ultimate reality. It helps us think clearly through that Pisces fog while remaining open to any intuitive downloads. It supports neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections, which is exactly what you're doing as Mercury rewires in Pisces. Steep a teaspoon of dried herb in hot water for 10 minutes and drink this midday when that mental fog tends to hit. Next would be passion flower. Passion flower is a Uranian nervine that calms electrical storms in the nervous system. It is specific for when the mind won't stop racing, when you can feel the electricity running through your nerves, when your body feels wired but exhausted. This is the herb for Mercury square Uranus, when sudden insights are hitting so fast that you can't integrate them, when your nervous system is on high alert and won't turn off. Taken as a tincture in water before bed to support deep rest during this activated time. Your body needs sleep to integrate this transformation. And then violet. Violet is a Venus-ruled herb with a particular affinity for the lymphatic system and the emotional heart. Violet grows in cool, moist places. They love shade and dampness. They teach us about gentle vulnerability, about being soft in a world that demands hardness. The leaves and the flowers together create a soothing, heart-opening tea that supports lymphatic flow. Your lymph system is your body's waste removal. When your emotions get stuck, lymph gets stuck. And violet will help both of them move. I recommend steeping it overnight as a cold infusion. Just put violet in room temperature water and let it sit for like 8 hours. And then drink that throughout the day. This is medicine for when you need gentleness, when everything feels too harsh and you need something that whispers instead of shouts. Now, as far as practices go, I highly recommend doing body-based releasing this week. This is the week for body-based releasing. The waning moon asks us to let go. But we can't release what's stuck in the body through thinking about it. We have to move it. So try this. Lie on your back, starting with your toes. Systematically tense each body part as much as you can and hold it for 5 seconds. Then completely release. Move through your entire body like this: feet, calves, thighs, glutes, belly, chest, hands, arms, shoulders, face. As you release each part, visualize anything that you're holding that's no longer yours flowing into the earth. Old stories, other people's expectations, energy that's not yours. Let it drain out through your body into the ground. Uranus direct helps us physically discharge what we've been internally processing, and this practice gives it a pathway out. Next, I would highly recommend some alternate nostril breathing. This ancient pranayama practice balances the nervous system's sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, your fight or flight and rest and digest systems. So you want to close your right nostril with your thumb and breathe in through the nose, through the left nostril, which is cooling lunar Pisces energy. Then using your ring finger, close the left nostril, release the right, and breathe out through the right, which is warming and solar and Uranus energy. Breathe in through the right, close it, breathe out through the left. That's one round. Do this for 5 minutes every day. It helps integrate Mercury in Pisces' dreamy quality with our need for functional clarity. It tells your nervous system that you can be both relaxed and alert. You don't have to choose. Now let's get to the mental body. Your mental body is kind of going through a fundamental shift. Mercury in Pisces can feel like trying to think through water. And with Mercury square Uranus, it's like trying to think through water while lightning is striking it. This isn't a problem to fix. This is an invitation to think differently. Mercury in Pisces dissolves linear logic. This is not the time for detailed plans, strategic thinking, or rational analysis, because those tools won't work right now. It'll be like trying to use a hammer to paint a watercolor. Instead, this is the time for symbolic thinking, dream logic, poetic knowing, allowing your mind to make connections that don't necessarily make sense, but are true. So some foods that can help you with this. This is one of my favorites. It's dill, lemon, quinoa. Dill is a Mercury ruled herb and supports mental digestion, helping us process not just food, but the emotional content that Pisces is bringing up. Traditionally, dill was used to calm anxious thoughts while maintaining an alertness. That is the Mercury signature. It doesn't sedate you, it settles you. There's a difference. Cook quinoa, which is actually a seed, not a grain, and it's also incredibly high in protein. So stir in some fresh dill, some lemon zest, maybe some chopped walnuts. The omega-3s in the walnuts support brain function and mental clarity. The protein grounds Mercury's tendency to scatter. This is brain food that helps you stay present and clear without forcing linear thinking, which isn't going to work right now anyways. Try a blueberry sage smoothie. Blueberries are brain protective antioxidants. They cross the blood-brain barrier and protect neurons from oxidative stress and inflammation. They also support neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new connections. And sage has been historically used to sharpen memory and wisdom. Rosemary for remembrance, sage for wisdom. It helps us remember what matters, what's essential. what we actually know beneath all the conditioning. Blend frozen blueberries, banana for natural sweetness and potassium, and fresh sage leaves. Start with just 3 or 4 because it's fairly strong. Almond milk, a touch of honey, and drink this in the morning to set a clear mental tone for the day. This smoothie says your brain can rewire. You can learn new ways of thinking. You can let go of old mental patterns and form new ones. Next is marjoram tea with honey. Marjoram is an amazing, gentle Mercury nervine that soothes mental agitation without creating any kind of drowsiness. It helps when thoughts cycle endlessly, but without the intensity that requires stronger herbs like skullcap or passion flower. It whispers, you can rest your mind now. You don't have to figure everything out today. The answers will come when you stop forcing them. If you steep fresh or dried marjoram in hot water, add a little honey for sweetness, also to balance the slightly bitter note. Drink it when your mind is spinning, but you still need to function. Now, let's talk about herbs. So, calamus root tincture. This is Mercury's power plant. The signature is in the structure of the roots, which precisely resemble the vocal cords and the throat. The doctrine of signature is showing us this herb's medicine. In Ayurveda, it's called vacha, or the power of the word or voice. When Mercury in Pisces makes communication feel unclear, when you know what you feel, but you're having trouble finding words for it, calamus helps you find your voice again without losing the Pisces poetic knowledge. It doesn't force you into rational speech. It helps you speak in metaphor, in poetry, in the language of the soul. Now, be careful with dosing. Calamus is a powerful herb and generally follows the recommendations for a low dose herb. Some sources can contain varying amounts of acerone, which is problematic in high doses. So make sure that you're using quality sources and stick to recommended doses. And then lemon balm. Lemon balm is a Mercury Venus bridge plant that calms scattered thoughts while lifting mild depression. It's specific for when the heart and the mind are both agitated and you can't think clearly because you're feeling too much, or you can't feel clearly because you're thinking too much. It brings a sense of everything will be okay without bypassing real concerns. It doesn't force positivity. It creates space for your nervous system to settle so that you can actually see what is real. Taken as a glycerite, it's especially helpful during the Mercury-Uranus square when sudden mental overwhelm may hit. Next would be rosemary essential oil. So, rosemary is a sun herb that brings mental clarity and memory enhancement. It carries warmth and focus, perfect for when Pisces waters threaten to dissolve all structure. Rosemary supports circulation to the brain and it sharpens cognitive function. When you need to focus, to remember, to think clearly despite the Piscean fog, rosemary is your ally. You can inhale it directly from the bottle or diffuse it during work hours to stay present and sharp. You can also add a drop to some carrier oil and rub it on your temples, avoiding the eyes. You'd be amazed at how much it helps. Now, as far as practices, dream journaling. So, Mercury in Pisces is going to amplify dream activity and symbolic communication. Your unconscious is going to be speaking loudly right now. The question is whether or not you're listening. So keep a journal by your bed. Immediately upon waking, Write everything down, even if it's just fragments. Don't try to interpret or analyze it. Just record. Blue door, mother angry, flying, ocean. Let the images teach you what your conscious mind can't access. The unconscious is sending messages through symbols and metaphor, which is Pisces' native language. After a week or two, patterns will start to emerge, recurring symbols, themes, messages that your soul is trying to send you that your rational mind has been blocking. Next, try poetry as prayer. So instead of writing linear journaling, try writing in free verse or stream of consciousness poetry. Let the words flow out of you without editing, without making sense, without caring if it's good. Mercury in Pisces doesn't want dissertations. It wants soul song. It wants the truth that can only be spoken in metaphor, in rhythm, in language that bypasses the rational mind and speaks directly to the heart. Read Mary Oliver or Rumi or Hafiz for inspiration. These poets knew how to think with the heart, to speak in the language of the soul. Try to write one poem a day this week, even if it's terrible, especially if it's terrible. You're not trying to create art. You're trying to let your mind learn a new language. So now let's move on to the emotional body. Right now, your emotional body is in the deep end. Venus in Pisces is going to open the floodgates of feeling. The boundaries between your emotions and everyone else's emotions dissolve. You're going to be feeling everything. This can be beautiful, but it can also be incredibly overwhelming. We need practices that honor emotion without drowning in it, that let us feel fully without losing ourselves in it completely. The difference between feeling and drowning. And here's what's important to understand. Feeling everything is not the same as drowning in everything. Feeling means you're allowing the emotion to move through you. It comes, you acknowledge it, you let it be present, and then it passes. It's like waves in the ocean. Drowning means you are identifying with the emotion. I am sad instead of I feel sad. You lose your sense of self in the feeling. You can't find the shore. You forget that there's anything beyond this emotion. Venus in Pisces invites feeling. The shadow of that is drowning. And this week, we're learning to navigate that difference. So here are some foods that can help. Rose petal and cardamom rice pudding. Rose is the ultimate Venus plant. In Pisces, rose teaches us to stay tender, even when tender hurts, to keep our hearts open, even when opening feels dangerous. Rose heals relationship trauma. It opens the heart with protection. Those thorns aren't there to keep love out. They're there to protect the soft, vulnerable flower while it blooms. Cook some arboreal rice in almond milk or in dairy if you consume it, with cardamom pods and dried rose petals. The cardamom is warming and grounding. It prevents the excessive dampness that Pisces can create. Finish with a little bit of rose water and some ground up pistachios. The creaminess is going to soothe that emotional rawness. The rose is going to open the heart. The cardamom is going to keep you grounded so that opening doesn't mean losing yourself. Eat this when your heart feels too tender to touch, when you need comfort that doesn't bypass the pain, but holds it gently. And then watermelon and mint salad. So, watermelon is cooling and hydrating and heart opening. It's perfect for Venus in a water sign. When emotions run too hot, too intense, watermelon is going to cool without numbing. And then mint is a Venus ruled herb and brings harmony and digestive ease. It helps us to digest our feelings, process them, integrate them, move them through instead of holding on to them and keeping them stuck. So just cube up some fresh watermelon, add some torn mint leaves, a squeeze of lime, a tiny pinch of sea salt. Sometimes I add a little bit of feta cheese to it. The salt brings out the sweetness and will provide minerals. It's simple, it's refreshing, emotionally cooling when feelings are running hot. This is the food equivalent of a cool hand on the fevered brow. Next would be chai with extra cinnamon. During emotional overwhelm, we need warming spices to prevent complete disillusion. When Pisces threatens to wash away all boundaries, all structure, and all sense of self, we need fire. Cinnamon is sun ruled. It brings warmth and boundary to Pisces' boundlessness. It says you can feel everything and still maintain your core identity. You don't have to dissolve completely to be open hearted. Brew some strong black tea with cinnamon sticks, cardamom pods, fresh ginger and cloves, and a little bit of your milk of choice. Sweeten it with honey. Let the spice be your anchor when your emotions threaten to sweep you away. Now, as far as herbs go, rose is Venus's signature plant. When Venus moves through Pisces, we need rose's gentle heart medicine more than ever. So the petals are going to soothe emotional overwhelm. They're cooling and softening and heart opening. And then rose hips are going to provide vitamin C to support our depleted nervous systems during these times of big feelings. Rose hips also provide boundaries. They're the fruit that forms after the flower has bloomed and released. They represent the integration phase after emotional opening. So steep 1 to 2 teaspoons in hot water for 10 minutes. Add honey. Drink it when your heart feels too tender, when you need something gentle that doesn't demand that you be stronger than you are. And the next herb I'm going to recommend is mimosa bark. Now, mimosa is called the tree of collective happiness in Chinese medicine. It makes me smile every time I think about it. It's specific for heartbreak and grief and emotional heaviness that settles in the chest like a stone. When Venus in Pisces has you feeling everything everyone has ever felt, collective grief, generational trauma, the suffering of the world, mimosa helps lighten that load while still honoring the depth. It doesn't force positivity or bypass pain. It creates space for your heart to breathe, even while feeling heavy things. You can take this 2 to 3 times daily as a tincture when the emotional weight feels like it's crushing you. And then blue vervain. Now, blue vervain is a Venus nervine for when emotional tension creates physical tightness. Your neck, your shoulders, your jaws clenched so tight you can crack walnuts. It's for people who have trouble softening, who feel like they have to stay strong, who hold on to everything because they have to keep it together for everyone else and never let themselves fall apart. Venus in Pisces gives us permission to soften. Blue vervain helps tight hearts release. It helps defended bodies let their guard down. As a tincture, you can take a milliliter up to 4 times a day, especially during peak emotional times, especially when you notice that your body is armoring against feeling. Now, as far as practices go, EFT tapping or emotional freedom technique helps discharge emotional energy while rewiring the nervous system's response to triggers. With the Venus Uranus square, old heart wounds may surface suddenly. Grief that you thought was healed, betrayals you thought that you had forgiven already, abandonment wounds that you had no idea that you were still carrying. So EFT tapping involves tapping on acupressure points, the top of the head, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbone, under the arm, and then on the inside of the wrist, right? And while you're doing that, you're saying, even though this grief feels overwhelming, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though my heart is breaking, I am safe. Even though I feel everything, I am still whole. The Chiron sextiles make this especially potent for healing work. The wound is the medicine. You don't have to be healed to be whole. Next, you could do a water ceremony. Pisces is the ocean returning to itself. Create a simple ritual to work with this energy. Light a candle, fill a bowl with water. Sit quietly and let yourself feel whatever's present: grief, rage, tenderness, whatever is there. Speak your griefs and releases into the water. Tell the water exactly what you're ready to let go of, what you're carrying that isn't yours, what needs to be washed clean. When you're complete, take the bowl outside and pour it onto the earth with gratitude. Let Pisces' water carry away what you no longer need to hold on to. Energetically, the earth composts everything. Even grief becomes soil for new growth. In your energetic body, your aura, your subtle field, your energetic boundaries, it's going to be challenged this week. Pisces energy naturally dissolves boundaries. It says, we are all one, which is spiritually true, but also energetically problematic if you're an empath or a highly sensitive person. You need to stay open-hearted without being energetically porous, connected without being overwhelmed, compassionate without absorbing everyone's pain. This is the work of the energetic body, learning how to hold both openness and integrity simultaneously, strengthening your field without closing your heart. The key here is understanding that boundaries aren't walls. Walls shut everything out. Boundaries are more like cell membranes. They're permeable. They let in what nourishes and keep out what harms, but they're still open. With Uranus direct in Taurus, you have cosmic support for revolutionary new boundaries. Boundaries that don't come from fear, but from wisdom. Boundaries that protect your energy without closing your heart. Now, one of my favorite foods is burdock root kimpira or kimpira gobo. Burdock is a Jupiter alternative that purifies on an energetic level. It pulls out what doesn't belong to us, which is perfect for empaths who absorb others' energy like sponges. If you walk into a room and immediately feel heavy with emotions that aren't yours, if you leave crowds feeling drained and depleted, if you can't tell where you end and others begin energetically, Burdock helps establish that energetic differentiation. Burdock, you can take it and julienne it, use a mandolin if you have one, and just saute it in like sesame oil with tamari and chili flake until it's crispy. The earth element is going to ground you. The pungency clears. This is energetic boundary medicine in food form. It's amazing. Next would be nettle and potato soup. Nettle is Mars ruled and creates strong energetic boundaries while building vitality. Now, nettles have stingers. They literally teach us about healthy boundaries, about saying no, about protecting ourselves. In herbal energetics, nettles cleanse and strengthen what we call the Martian pattern, which is our ability to have healthy aggression, to defend ourselves, to maintain our own integrity. And potatoes are Saturn ruled, providing structural support. They're grounding, nourishing, solid. Simmer nettles, whether dried or fresh. If they're fresh, make sure you're using gloves to handle them until they're cooked. Simmer them with diced potatoes, onion, vegetable broth. Finish it with a little bit of cream and black pepper. The soup nourishes while fortifying your energetic field. Also, you could try some turmeric, golden milk. So, turmeric is Mars ruled and protects on subtle levels while reducing inflammation. It helps us maintain healthy aggression and boundaries without hardening into defensiveness. So, whatever milk you like to use, warm some up, add some turmeric powder, some black pepper. The black pepper is integral. It increases the turmeric absorption by 2,000%. A little bit of honey, some cinnamon. Drink this before bed to seal your energetic field for sleep. When you're sleeping, you're vulnerably energetically. This practice creates protection so that you can rest without absorbing whatever's moving through the collective field. Now for herbs. Yarrow flower essence. So, yarrow is the ultimate boundary plant for sensitive souls. It knits together the energetic field, literally repairing holes in your aura where energy leaks out or unwanted energy seeps in. Yarrow protects empaths from absorbing others' pain. It helps you feel compassion for others' suffering without taking that suffering into your own body. Now, this is crucial with Venus and Pisces because you can care deeply about the suffering in the world without carrying all of that suffering into your nervous system. Just 4 drops under the tongue 4 times daily, especially before entering crowds, family gatherings, or any kind of emotionally intense situation. Angelica root tincture. Angelica is described as defending and comforting to spirits. It's traditionally used for spiritual protection and connecting with guardian forces, ancestors, guides, protective energies. With Mercury and Venus in Pisces, we will naturally be more psychically porous. We're picking up on subtle realms, receiving more information from unseen dimensions. This is beautiful, but again, it can often be overwhelming for us. Angelica helps us stay protected while open. It strengthens our connection to benevolent forces while providing an energetic defense against anything that doesn't serve our highest good. You can take 10 to 15 drops twice daily, especially if you're doing spiritual work or dream work. Next, cedar essential oil. Cedar is grounding and purifying on an energetic level. The wood element provides structure when Pisces threatens to dissolve all form. Dilute this in some carrier oil and anoint the pulse points, your wrists, behind your ears, the base of your throat, your heart center, or diffuse it into your space. Cedar reminds us you can flow and have shape. You can be water and have a container. You don't have to dissolve completely to be open heart. Now, as far as practices go, I highly recommend energetic boundary setting every single morning before you check your phone or talk to anyone. Do this. Sit or stand and visualize a sphere of light around your body, extending about an arm's length in all directions. This is your space, your energetic sovereignty. Practice feeling where you end and others begin. Notice the edge of your field. Say aloud, I release all energy that isn't mine. I call back all energy that is mine. This is my sacred space, and nothing enters it without my permission. Uranus direct helps us establish revolutionary new boundaries. This daily practice gives your energy body clear instructions about what belongs to you and what doesn't. Next, I highly recommend grounding through movement. The body is the ultimate boundary. You have edges, you have shape, you exist in a specific location in space and time. When Pisces energy makes you feel like you're dissolving, merging with everything, losing yourself, move. Move daily to remind yourself that you have an edge, a shape, and a form. Even 10 minutes of yoga or dance or walking or any embodied movement reinforces I am here in this body with these limits, and that is sacred. Your limitations are not problems. They're what allow you to be a self, which is what you came here to do. Now let's talk about our spiritual body. Your spiritual body is being activated powerfully this week through the Chiron sextiles. This is wounded healer work. This is the week your deepest pain reveals itself as your greatest medicine. And that's not a nice spiritual platitude. It's the raw, uncomfortable, necessary truth of the healing path, the wound that becomes the medicine. Chiron in mythology was a centaur, half human, half divine. He was wounded by a poisoned arrow that couldn't kill him because he was immortal, but couldn't be healed either. He lived with chronic pain. In his suffering, he became the greatest healer of his age. He taught medicine, herbalism, music, prophecy. His wound was his initiation into healing mastery. When Mercury and Venus sextile Chiron this week, you have an opportunity to speak your wound and love yourself through it in unprecedented ways. The question is, are you willing to look at what hurts? Now, one of the things I will recommend for that is holy basil tea or Tulsi tea. Tulsi is spiritually revered in the Ayurvedic tradition as an adaptogen that connects us to divine presence. It's called the incomparable one. With everything happening globally, collective trauma, mass suffering, systems collapsing, we need spiritual medicine that helps us stay centered while witnessing it all. Tulsi helps us maintain spiritual centeredness during chaos. It strengthens our connection to what's sacred while we navigate what is completely profane. Brew some fresh or dried Tulsi leaves. Add honey. Drink it as a sacred ritual. Let each sip be a prayer of presence, a commitment to staying grounded in your spiritual practice, even when the world feels like it's ending. Pomegranate seeds with orange blossom water. Pomegranate is an ancient symbol of death and rebirth mysteries. It's Persephone's food. It's the fruit that she ate in the underworld that bound her to return there each year. Working with pomegranate is working with the mystery of descent and return, of dying and being reborn, of visiting the depths and coming back transformed. Orange blossom water is Venus ruled and spiritually uplifting. It carries joy, lightness, and resurrection energy. Sprinkle some fresh pomegranate arrows with a few drops of orange blossom water and just a touch of raw honey. Eat these mindfully as you contemplate, what in me is dying? What is it that needs to be reborn? And then ceremonial cacao. Cacao is a heart opening plant spirit teacher. It's been used in ceremony for millennia to facilitate emotional release, spiritual connection, and heart expansion. With Venus in Pisces and the Chiron sextiles, working with cacao ceremonially can help you access emotional depth, speak to your heart's wounds, and open to healing. Prepare it with intention. Warm plant milk, raw cacao powder, not cocoa. You want ceremonial grade cacao, or at least organic cacao. Mix some cinnamon and cayenne or even rose water for heart activation. Vanilla, a little bit of sweetener. Speak your intentions into the cup before drinking. This is plant medicine. Treat it as safe. Now, as far as herbs go, St. John's wort brings light to dispel darkness. It connects us to our true self, to the parts of us that exist beyond trauma, beyond conditioning, beyond all the ways that we have been wounded. It's sun medicine for when the depths of Pisces feel overwhelming, when you're swimming in shadow and you need to remember that there is light. It teaches us that our light isn't diminished by acknowledging our darkness, that our wholeness has to include both. Now, you can take it as a tincture 2 to 3 times a day and taken consistently over weeks for full effect. Please note that St. John's wort has many medication interactions. So if you're on any prescriptions, please check with a healthcare provider before you start taking it. Next would be Damiana. So Damiana leaf supports embodied spirituality. It's the kind that includes pleasure and sexuality and desire and joy. If your spiritual practice has become too ascetic, too serious, too much about transcending the body, Damiana reminds you that your incarnation is sacred. Your body is holy. Your pleasure is holy. Your desire is holy. With Chiron's medicine, we're learning that healing does not mean transcending our humanity. It means embracing it, loving ourselves exactly as we are, messy, imperfect, and gloriously human. Now, Damiana can be smoked, it can be used as an incense, drunk as a tea, or even taken as a tincture. And it says, you don't have to be spiritually perfect to be worthy of love. Next would be ghost pipe flower essence. Now, ghost pipe is powerful medicine for rising above pain to gain perspective while still honoring the depth of what hurts. It is specifically indicated for deep hurt, trauma, grief so profound that you can barely breathe. It helps you witness your pain without being destroyed by it. This is Chiron's medicine in plant form. The wound becomes medicine when we can be present with it, when we can see it clearly without drowning in it. This is a flower essence, so just 4 drops under the tongue while doing healing work, therapy, or trauma processing. Never, ever harvest wild ghost pipe. It is endangered in the wild. Please purchase the flower essence from ethical sources so that we continue to have this plant around forever. Now, for the spiritual body, an ancestral healing meditation would be amazing this week because your wounds aren't just yours. Many of our wounds are ancestral patterns passed down through lineage, trauma inherited from those who came before us. Sit quietly, light a candle, invite your ancestors, be they biological or spiritual, to gather around you. Ask, what wounds did you carry that I've inherited? What healing work are you asking me to complete? Listen, don't judge. Whatever comes up, write it down and then ask, what healing have you done that I can now build on? What wisdom can you offer me? Thank them. Release what's theirs back to them. Keep what's yours to work with. Ancestral patterns often manifest as physical symptoms, and this work can create profound shifts across all 5 bodies. You could also try some Chiron integration journaling and reflect on questions. Write freely. Let Pisces waters carry truth to the surface. What pain have I experienced that taught me how I can help others? How has my wounding become my medicine? Where do I still resist my healer's path because it requires me to acknowledge my wounds? What am I pretending not to know about my gifts? If my wound became my offering to the world, what would I get? Don't force your answers. Let them emerge. The truth knows how to find you when you create the space for it. This week asks us to navigate an exquisite paradox. How do we open completely while maintaining integrity? How do we surrender while preparing for embodied action? How do we feel everything without losing ourselves? The answer is integration across all 5 bodies. They're not separate. They are different aspects of one unified whole. And this integration isn't just for this week. It's laying the foundation for the 13 years of Neptune and Aries ahead of us. Physically, we nourish the nervous system so it can handle both Pisces sensitivity and Uranus electricity without over. Root vegetables ground the lightning. Omega-3s rebuild the depleted reserves. Seaweed provides minerals for conduction. Movement helps that stuck energy flow. We're building a body that can hold spiritual power without burning out, that can feel everything and still stay functional, that can be a vessel for the embodied divine action. This is physical preparation for becoming a spiritual warrior. Mentally, we learn to think in poetry and dream logic, trusting nonlinear knowing while using herbs like calamus to maintain our voice. We release the tyranny of the rational mind and allow symbolic wisdom. We write what we actually think, not what we're supposed to think. We're training our minds to receive divine guidance through intuition and then articulating clearly. Neptune and Aries will demand that we speak spiritual truth. This week teaches us how to access that. Emotionally, we let the waters move through us, grief and joy, longing, rage, while practices like EFT help us metabolize intensity without drowning. We feel everything and stay whole. We open our hearts without losing our boundaries. We're learning emotional resilience and capacity. When Neptune and Aries asks us to take action on behalf of what we love, we're going to need hearts strong enough to stay open while witnessing suffering, while fighting for justice, while holding both tenderness and fierceness simultaneously. Energetically, we tend our boundaries with vigilance and compassion, knowing that Pisces porousness can be gift or curse depending on our own discernment. We learn to protect our field while staying open-hearted. We say no to what depletes us and yes to what nourishes us. We're establishing energetic sovereignty, the ability to be in the world, fully engaged, spiritually activated, without absorbing everyone's pain or losing ourselves in the collective chaos. Neptune in Aries warriors need strong fields. Spiritually, we honor that our wounds are our medicine, that the Chiron sextiles make it possible to speak our pain and love ourselves through it in unprecedented ways. We stop trying to transcend our humanity and start embracing it. We're claiming our wounded healer gifts, the specific medicine only we can offer because of what we've survived and integrated. Neptune in Aries asks, what are you here to fight for? This week helps us answer by showing us what we've learned through our own healing. The waning moon reminds us not all work is building. Sometimes the most sacred work is letting go, composting what was, making space for what's coming. Uranus direct says, what have you been incubating in the dark that's ready to be born into form? The internal revolution is complete. Now we bring it into the world. Mercury and Venus in Pisces promise you can be soft and still be strong. You can flow and still have shape. You can feel everything and still be whole. And then Neptune in Aries whispers, soon, very soon, I'll ask you to be fierce, to take action, to embody your spirituality as sacred warriorship. But first, this week, let yourself be tender. Let yourself be soft. Let yourself integrate. Because the warriors who change the world aren't the ones who never feel pain. They are the ones who have felt everything, processed it, integrated it, and then chose to show up anyways. That's what we're preparing for. That's what this week is building toward. Choose one practice from each body to commit to this week. Write them down. Tell someone you trust what you're practicing. Pisces benefits from accountability since its nature is to dissolve commitments. Most importantly, give yourself permission to be tender, to not have all the answers, to trust what you feel even when you can't explain it. Mercury and Venus in Pisces are teaching you that sometimes the heart knows before the head understands. Sometimes the body whispers what the mind refuses to hear. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your heart is opening. Your voice is finding new ways to speak the truth. Your wounds are revealing themselves as portals to your power. And Neptune in Aries is watching, waiting, preparing you for embodied spiritual action that's coming. But not yet, not this week. This week, trust the process. Feed yourself well. Cry when you need to. Laugh when it bubbles up. Stay present in your body, even when you want to float away. Feel everything. Let the waters wash through you. Release what's ready to go. Soften into the grief, the tenderness, the vulnerability. Because very soon, sooner than you think, the cosmos is going to ask you to be fierce, to stand up, to take action, to embody your spirituality as sacred warriorship in the world. You can't be that warrior if you're defended, if you've bypassed the feeling in favor of the fighting. The most powerful warriors are the ones who have felt everything, processed it, integrated it, and then chose to show up anyway. This week is your preparation, your integration, your last tender moment before the fire. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. And you are not broken. You are water learning to hold form. You are lightning learning to move through water without destroying it. You are the wounded healer who knows that the cracks are where the light gets in. And you are becoming a spiritual warrior who fights for what's sacred, not despite your tenderness, but because of it. May your week be blessed with nourishing food, potent medicine, and the courage to feel everything without fear. This is Living the Wheel, where we follow the cycles of the cosmos and the wisdom of the five bodies to navigate our human experience with ancient knowledge and embodied practices. If this resonated, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and remember that you're not alone in this transformation. The old world is dying and the new one is being born. And Neptune in Aries says, you're not here to watch it happen. You're here to make it happen. First, this week, be soft, be tender, be water, because the fire is coming. Until next week, may you stay tender and whole. I'm Danielle, and I'll see you in the next one.